You can't let anyone push you around. You have to stand firm in who you are and what you believe in, no matter what. People will test you. It's a part of life. They'll try to see if they can break your confidence, make you doubt yourself, or force you into a position where you feel small. The truth is, when someone disrespects you, they're trying to break down the foundation you've built within yourself. They want to see if you'll crumble, if you'll let them control the narrative. But if you allow that to happen, you're giving them the power to define you. And that's not something you should ever do. You have to know your worth and stand firm in it. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. People might not always agree with you. They might not always appreciate you, but you have to recognize your value regardless of what they say or do. When you stand firm, when you don't allow anyone to disrespect you or make you question your place in this world, you teach people how to treat you. And more importantly, you teach yourself how to protect your peace. When someone tries to test your patience or push you to a breaking point, the first thing you need to do is remember that you are in control of your response. That's a powerful thing. They may try to provoke you, try to get under your skin, but you have the power to decide how to react. The moment you allow someone to make you angry, to make you feel inferior, you lose that control. You let them dictate your emotions. You have to realize that people will come and go, situations will change, but you always have the ability to stay true to yourself and control your own actions. It's up. Think about it. The world can be chaotic, and sometimes people can be downright disrespectful, but your response is the one thing you have total control over. If you stand firm, you don't have to match their disrespect with your own. You can stand tall and refuse to let their negativity affect you. People will respect that, whether they like it or not, because it shows strength, and strength demands respect. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to chase it. But you have to set the tone for how others treat you. And to treat the people, sometimes standing your ground means saying nothing at all. It's the silent strength, the calm in the storm. You don't need to argue. You don't need to yell. You don't need to engage in petty back and forths. You can simply hold your head high, remain composed, and walk away from situations that are beneath you. Let them see that their words or actions have no power over you. And when you do stand your ground, remember that you're not doing it to prove something to anyone else. You're doing it for yourself. People who respect themselves and their worth don't need validation from others. You don't need someone to tell you that you're strong, that you're valuable. You already know that. And when you know your worth, it shows in how you carry yourself, how you handle adversity, and how you don't allow others to undermine your confidence. You set the standard, not just for how others should treat you, but for how you treat yourself. Respect starts from within. When you stand your ground, you make a statement that you will not be moved by the disrespect of others. You show people that you won't settle for being treated poorly, and that in itself is a sign of strength. It's easy to let someone else's behavior determine how you feel about yourself, but it's much harder to hold your head high and stay grounded in your self-worth. It takes strength to stay calm, to stay composed, to refuse to let someone else's negativity bring you down. But that's the kind of strength that demands respect. And when you do that, when you stand tall, when you don't let anyone push you around, not only do you teach others how to treat you, but you also teach them something about themselves. You show them that they too have the power to control their own actions, to stand firm, and to live with integrity. That's how you create an environment of respect, not by demanding it, but by earning it through your own actions. Setting boundaries is one of the most powerful ways to ensure that you are treated with the respect you deserve. It's not just about saying no when you don't want something. It's about creating a framework for how you expect to be treated and making it clear to others that you won't tolerate anything less. Boundaries are not walls. They are the guidelines that define how you will interact with the world. and how the world will interact with you. Without boundaries, people can easily take advantage of you, manipulate you, and chip away at your sense of self-worth. When you don't set boundaries, you're essentially opening yourself up to being disrespected because you failed to draw the line on what is acceptable and what isn't. Boundaries start with knowing your limits, what you are willing to accept and what you are not. You need to understand your own values and what is non-negotiable in your life. You can't expect others to respect you if you don't first respect yourself by setting limits. People will often push and test the waters to see how far they can go. Some may even try to ignore your boundaries altogether, hoping that you'll give in. This is where the real work comes in. You have to be firm and consistent in maintaining those boundaries even when others push back. It's easy to let things slide, to ignore small signs of disrespect because you don't want to make waves. But once you do that, you've set a dangerous precedent. People will see that you're not serious about your boundaries and will continue to overstep. One of the most important things you can do when setting boundaries is to be clear and direct. Don't leave room for confusion. If someone is treating you in a way that you don't appreciate, tell them. Don't hint at it. Don't hope they'll figure it out on their own. Tell them exactly what is bothering you and why it's not acceptable. For example, if someone interrupts you when you're speaking, you need to make it clear that you won't tolerate being cut off. A simple, direct statement like, "I'd like to finish my thought before you speak," lets the person know that you value your voice and expect the same respect in return. Boundaries also require that you stand firm in your decisions. It's not enough to just say you have boundaries. You have to enforce them. This can be difficult, especially if you're dealing with people who are used to taking advantage of you. When you don't enforce your boundaries, you send the message that they can be easily broken, and that leads to more disrespect and frustration on both sides. But enforcing your boundaries doesn't mean being confrontational or hostile. It simply means that you don't back down when someone tries to cross that line. If someone is being disrespectful, you can calmly remind them of your boundaries and take appropriate action if necessary. It might mean walking away from a conversation, limiting your interactions with certain individuals, or distancing yourself from environments that are not conducive to your well-being. Another important aspect of setting boundaries is recognizing that you're not responsible for how other people react. When you set a boundary, some people may not like it. They may push back, get upset, or try to guilt you into changing your mind. That's not your problem. Your responsibility is to protect your own peace, not to accommodate others at the expense of your own well-being. When you stand firm in your boundaries, you teach people how to treat you, and you also teach them how to respect themselves. It's an act of self-care, not selfishness. You have every right to protect your time, your energy, and your mental health, and that starts with setting boundaries that honor who you are and what you need. But boundaries don't just apply to others, they apply to you too. You need to respect your own limits. If you're constantly saying yes to everyone else and no to yourself, you're violating your own boundaries. If you're always putting other people's needs ahead of your own, you're neglecting the very thing that will help you show up as your best self. It's a two-way street. By setting boundaries, you're telling yourself that you are worthy of respect, that you deserve the space to take care of your own needs. It's not just about what others do to you, it's about what you allow yourself to do for yourself. When you respect your own limits, you become better at communicating your needs and desires to others, and you build a stronger sense of self-worth that will make it easier for you to demand respect in every area of your life. When someone disrespects you, it can be easy to fall into the trap of returning the disrespect. You might feel the urge to fire back with insults, to defend yourself with anger, or to retaliate in ways that make you feel justified. But responding to disrespect with more disrespect is not the way to handle it. In fact, it only lowers you to their level and weakens your position. The key to maintaining your dignity and self-respect is to refuse to return the disrespect. You have to rise above it, and in doing so, you not only maintain your own integrity, but you send a message to others that you will not be provoked. Responding with respect, even when faced with disrespect, is a sign of emotional maturity and strength. It shows that you are in control of your emotions and that you value your own peace of mind more than you value getting into a back and forth with someone who is trying to drag you down. It's easy to get caught up in the moment, especially when you're dealing with someone who's deliberately trying to provoke you. They may raise their voice, make cutting remarks, or attempt to undermine you in some way, hoping to get a rise out of you. But when you refuse to respond in kind, you take away their power. You make it clear that their actions don't affect you. You hold on to your own sense of self-worth, no matter what they do. When you decide not to return the disrespect, you also avoid escalating the situation. Disrespectful interactions can quickly spiral into something much more toxic if both parties start attacking each other. Before you know it, you're no longer addressing the issue at hand. Instead, you're both just caught in a battle of egos. This not only wastes time, but leaves you emotionally drained and distracted from more important things in your life. On the other hand, if you choose to respond calmly and respectfully, you immediately de-escalate the situation. Your calm demeanor stands in contrast to their hostility, and it forces them to take a step back. By maintaining your composure, you control the energy of the situation and create an atmosphere where the other person is the one who looks unreasonable. So on the scale of justice, are you responding to the other person's unreasonable reaction? It's important to remember that you are not responsible for the other person's behavior. You cannot control how others act, but you can control how you react. If someone disrespects you, their actions say more about them than they do about you. Their rudeness, their hostility, their poor behavior are reflections of their character, not yours. When you understand this, it becomes easier to refuse to return the disrespect. You see their actions for what they are: misguided attempts to belittle you or assert power over you, and you choose not to let it affect you. You realize that their behavior is not about you, it's about them. And you don't need to stoop to their level to prove anything. Responding with respect also forces others to reconsider their own behavior. When you don't engage in the disrespect, you make it clear that you won't tolerate being treated poorly. In some cases, this may cause the person who disrespected you to reconsider their actions and even apologize. But even if they don't, you've maintained your self-respect and your dignity. You've chosen not to let their negativity define you, and that in itself is a victory. At the same time, refusing to return disrespect requires a certain level of inner strength and self-control. It can be difficult to hold back when someone is trying to provoke you, especially when the disrespect feels personal or unfair. But this is where your mental and emotional resilience come into play. You have to remind yourself that you are above petty conflicts. Your worth is not defined by the opinions or behavior of others. By choosing to respond with respect, you're protecting your own peace and refusing to let their negativity invade your mind. You're not just refusing to engage with them, you're also refusing to allow their disrespect to influence your inner state. Finally, remember that when you choose not to return disrespect, you also demonstrate to others how to handle conflict with maturity. You set an example of how to address disagreements or negative situations with grace and dignity. People will notice your composure and they will learn from it. You become a model for how to navigate life with respect for both yourself and others, no matter how challenging the circumstances may be.